Welcome to Ordinary People, Extraordinary Things. I'm here with Muffie. Muffie, thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and humbled to be invited on here.
So, Muffie and I go way back. I don't even know. I mean, probably since we were babies or,
Well, yeah, I mean, we grew up in the same town.
yeah,
So many memories.
yes, so many. We were played the flute together, rollerbladed. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
we
man. Lots of sleepovers, even as we were getting older. Yeah.
lots of fun. Yeah. So I'm so excited. It's we were such good friends and then just kind of life took us in different areas and my mom said, "Hey, you should have Muffy on." And I was like, I should. Why haven't I thought of Muffy? And so I'm so glad that she reminded us. And then we got to talking, and it's just been fun to just rekindle this friendship.
Oh, absolutely. I was so thrilled when I saw a text from you. Different last name, but obviously we have still talked after you got married, but it was so cool to be able to hop on the phone with you even then. I felt like we did a whole nother podcast just even talking then.
We did. We did. So if people don't know who you are, can you give three words or phrases to describe yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say first and foremost, I'm an encourager. I've always had I love writing notes to people, to my own family, and to people. I've always been a note writer, and verbally too, encouraging people, but I've always loved putting little notes, whether it's in lunch boxes or suitcases. I've just been that person. I feel like I can almost convey more of my heart and encourage, but just an encourager, also disciplined person. And I think I've turned my type A personality into positive habits. And so I've kind of always grown up to be a very disciplined person in my health and so in fitness, but also carries over into just positive habits for self-development and leadership. And then I would say, thirdly, I'm just grateful. I'm just super grateful. I don't know if it's just a season of my life, but I'm just every day. I used to keep a gratitude journal when I was in high school. Every single day, I would write down one thing, and I think I did that for maybe a year or two after that. But just something every day to be grateful for. So just grateful.
Oh, that's great. I love that. That's great. Grateful. And you're a wife and you have three boys, is that right?
Yes, three very active boys. Yes, boy mama here. They are 2, 4, and 6 years old now, and we are a homeschool family. We're actually entering into our third year as in our homeschool journey, and then I also work part-time as a registered dietitian.
Yes. So we have that in common too, because we
Mhm.
homeschool our kids.
Yep.
So, can you explain your word of the year? Some people have these. I think it's kind of become a big thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a handful of years. I was trying to think. So our oldest he's actually going to be turning 6 years old. Might have been right before he was born that I think as a dietitian, I've always been not really against New Year's resolutions, but that hasn't really stuck well with me. And I think society's kind of getting away from that. And at the end of the year, Jeremy and I are good about reflecting upon our year and then just praying going into the new year. And yeah, I guess now the thing is words of the year. A lot of people will do that. It's just easy to focus on. And so this year, I had been praying a lot about it. And, I had just kind of recently overcome that perfectionist mindset, and just trying to let go and just kind of let God, take control a little bit more. But one of the words that he did lay on my heart going into this year is simplify. And I think as a perfectionist, that's not just in stuff. And so one of the things I know we were talking about is with my word being simplify, a lot of the people think of that word, simplify, and they just think live a simple life. And what is a simple life? They think minimalism, they think don't own a lot of stuff, and they think do less. And while simplify can mean cutting things out, certainly, for me, that was partly a lot of it, maybe getting rid of the excess stuff, even physical stuff, but even the mental clutter, physical clutter. And it can mean doing less, but it doesn't necessarily mean doing less. Um, so when I had that word, I also one of the things that we've been going on with the theme too is these these unwords, and we are unhindered and unconquerable. And so my unword was uncomplicated, and uncomplicated is ironically kind of a complicated word. So I'm like, well, how about simplify? And but I was thinking about that, and uncomplicated, the reason why I think one of the tools that the devil uses is just to complicate your life and make us just make us more busy. And I know we're going to talk about that. But in terms of simplifying our life, it's not doing less just so we can, have a lot of people think peace means doing less. For me,
Mm.
simplify means getting rid of the excess clutter so that I can step into my calling for what God has for me. I can become who He has called me to become. It can mean even doing more. It can mean doing more in the things that actually advance God's kingdom or for whatever His purpose is for you. It can mean cutting out certain relationships. It can mean cutting, closing certain doors. Um, but it's not just doing less for the sake of having less stuff and just living a minimalist life. I had to learn as a homeschool mom, simplify. I don't know if this is maybe what you went through as a homeschool mom when you're first starting out. It can feel very overwhelming. It's really neat now. I feel like there are a lot of options. And for homeschool, just the format and the curriculum, thankfully there are a lot of options, but also it's it's overwhelming. And I struggled there in the beginning with, oh my goodness, I have to take advantage of all this stuff. I need to do this, this, and this. And I need to plan my year this way. Oh, here's another planner, here's another planner. I just felt like I had to be so comprehensive so that he didn't miss out. And it got to be the point where I was not just in homeschool, but in my life, I was getting so shallow in so many things, in activities and even in my self-development. I was almost trying to be very um, maybe well-rounded or balanced. I wanted him to be well-rounded, and he was only started out in preschool. He was only 4, and I had to learn that if I was um, if I was getting into too many things and shallow in so many things, I couldn't really go deep in a few things. And I think that's the purpose is God is calling us to higher. He's calling us to more, but to more in His kingdom.
Mhm.
My word of the year, then, simplify. It kind of it's that's not also not the end goal. I think the end goal for me was to simplify so that I could surrender those things, surrender the things that didn't matter, so that I could steward the things that He had for me, so that I could, be more creative. I could build, create, and in the end, finish strong. So that's kind of my word of the year, where it all came from. And I think it is misconstrued as simply just cutting things out, but I think it's so that you can step into more, and specifically into the relationships and serving.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like it's a real thing right now to just say, oh, just say no, say no, say no, and take care of yourself and you know, um, like self-help and all of these things. And they're good. I just think we've kind of gone the other direction where we've had that become so much that it's almost too easy to say no. It's too easy to not really take up your cross and like every day. And it's easy to kind of get comfortable and, oh, wouldn't God just want me to be comfortable? I've been doing a lot. I should just like take it easy. And again, like there's a balance. I think we've just seen society maybe take it a little too far, if that's what, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree about that. And when you say about self-care and self-help and everything, um, I think a lot of people too, um, they miss the mark. It's almost like where if you want to get to know God, um, like you said, some things are good, but it's like reading all the devotionals and all the books about God, but not actually going to the Bible, right? It's like you miss the mark. Those things are good. Devotionals are good. You truly want a relationship with God, though, you need to spend time in His Word and spend time in prayer. And so, that's really, I think, with simplifying that I had to really prioritize that first and foremost. It's, are we getting busy in so many things that we're actually missing the mark and what's most important?
Mm.
Um, yeah.
And you're saying busy. Do you see a correlation between society and do you feel like everyone says busy? I feel like everybody says
Oh,
busy. Like if you're like, hey, Muffy, how are you? I'm busy, right? Or
yes. It used to just be fine or good, but yes, when you ask people like, oh, just super busy. I don't know if it's like, do you get like a reward for how many times you say busy? And now we're in, just the technology days, and with phone, we text people back and forth. And it's almost like at one point I was going to put a nickel in a jar, do one of those for every crazy busy response that I got. Because it would be if I met like a mom, maybe at a park or something and we connected, and maybe I stay in touch with whoever it is and I say, hey, how are you? Oh, crazy busy. Now, I don't know if they mean that like, oh, I'm crazy busy, or, we're crazy busy, as if they're trying to win a reward. But it almost became comical. And I think that being busy, a lot of times that being busy is not the same thing as being productive. And being busy is not the same thing as growing God's kingdom, right? Um, I think of no, Jesus never said like, "Oh, I'm so busy." I mean, Jesus was definitely crazy busy. He definitely prioritized relationships over that. But in response to, the society norm of being busy, that's exactly it. We've almost like have gotten so out of balance. We're so busy in so many things. And one of the things that I thought about was a lot of people think, are they just striving to be well-rounded and um, balanced? A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm out of balance." And what does that mean? That doesn't mean being in so many activities. Sometimes you have to be out of balance in activities and be in balance in your value system. So are you just being busy in things that don't really matter? And yeah, it's so funny because thank goodness God has called me to more. I think God has called us to be uncomfortable. He hasn't called us to be busy. And are we getting so busy that we're missing life and we're missing the point of it? And do you want at the end of your life, I think about, do I want to do I want people to be like, oh, she was so busy, or she was too busy. And I don't know, again, I don't know if busy is like supposed to be a um reward, like people are like, oh, I'm so busy. They have to have a full calendar, but it's not about busyness, but it's about, relationships ultimately in the end. And yeah, I feel like we have missed the mark in getting busy in so many things, um, with, that response as far as being crazy busy.
yeah, and I'm afraid that we either are busy or we think we're busy.
Mm,
Just like everyone says they're busy, so it's like, oh, I guess I'm busy. But with that response, I'm afraid, like you said, that it's easy to cut out relationships. It's easy to cut out like serving God because it's like, oh, I'm just too busy. If I say, hey, Muffy, can you go to coffee? No, I'm too busy. Hey, Muffy, can you join our Bible study? No, I'm too busy. And so I feel like that's like you were talking about, like the devil kind of using this thing that doesn't seem too terrible, but
mm.
I think it's doing some destructive things in our life. And I think that a lot of us don't know it either. And I think that's the sly part of it.
Yes, absolutely. It can be so subtle as our schedules. And, even as, when you have kids and your schedule does fill up. And I always say, I'm glad, that, God hasn't called us to be comfortable. He hasn't. But in terms of being busy too, an example I have is I remember during the homeschool or during the school year, we are a part of a co-op and we meet weekly. We meet on Thursdays for kind of the main part of the morning and the afternoon. And it's actually about 30 minutes across town for us where we go. And it's great. It's a great opportunity. I get to bring all three kids. And I get to be where there's with Salem in the classroom. So that was just really a great thing for us during the school year. And when the school year's done, that kind of freed up our Thursday. And I remember I got a text from another friend from church who is not part of the homeschool co-op, but she has little ones. She said, "Hey, I know your co-op is done. Would you like to come clean the church with us, on Thursdays?" And kind of initially my response was going to be, um, no, because in my head, I was kind of selfishly like, well, gosh, then I could do story time with him, or we're still doing school. Like school is kind of all the time. It's not just, I was planning on maybe digging deeper into him learning how to read, just all these things we put on ourselves. I think about it too. A lot of it's self-inflicted, good and bad, as far as our busyness. A lot of it is self-inflicted. But obviously she knew like, oh, you don't have the co-ops anymore. But I'm like, well, that doesn't mean I have a lot of other things. But you prioritize what's important and you will make time for what's important to you, but you also got to think about what's most important in the long run in terms of God's kingdom and what are my values. You know, one of the ways how I overcame that taskmaster spirit, I always call it, because like, oh, I thought, oh gosh, I could get my laundry done earlier and all these other tasks. But I thought, you know what? If I prioritize God first in serving, um, also my busyness, I was missing the mark. I would miss out on time of fellowship with other moms with little ones. My boys were able to, and so I said yes. No, I'm not that that means I'm saying yes every time. Um, but when I went to help them, it was really neat because I got that fellowship time with those ladies and we were able to pour into each other and share what we're learning and just that fellowship time. And then my boys were able to play with the other kids. And they also saw me serving by cleaning the church. They are witnessing that. I remember growing up with my mom, and she would go and clean, Woodlawn Christian Church. I went with her, and just great memories from that too. Something my mom wouldn't want me to share, but I remember her wearing like a football helmet because our church, there were bats in the attic sometimes, and I remember her walking around with a football helmet and, little broom and just great memories from that. But I saw my mom, I witnessed her serving too, even at a young age. And it's like, I know ultimately in this season of my life, our purpose is to raise up children, train up our children in the way they should go. And so, so I love that. One of the ways too that I've overcome, I always think as far as my tasks that I have, one of the ways I've overcome that taskmaster spirit is I do think about that. Is it more important to have clean dishes or to stop what I'm doing and go and be with my boys, be present with them so that I can make sure I'm nurturing a clean heart in them, a clean and pure heart? Is it, more important for me to take this long meal prepping? Or do I need to or I can go spend time with God in word and in prayer. And by doing that, he's going to bless that time and he's going to show me doors that can be closed, things that don't really matter. And he's also going to show me how, in ways that I can be creative. And because some things do need to be done, you can't neglect things either. Some things are important, but not urgent. And so maybe he's going to open up ways that I can develop systems so that I can be more efficient, so that I can free up more time versus toiling. It's that unnecessary toiling. When you're trying to do everything yourself, and I have this checklist, and my goal for the day is just to check off the checklist. If I just spend time with God, He's going to show me the one important thing that I need to do for that day, and He's going to bless that time.
Mm, that's really good. That's really good. What would you say to someone maybe specific? I kind of have two of these questions. One is that feels like you do, like, I am a perfectionist. I love getting those tasks done. How how do you prioritize those like relationships? And I think you've kind of said that, but is there something else that is like, this has really worked for me? Or is it just that time in prayer that you were talking about? Or is there
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things for me, even to back up further, is I had to actually be aware of it because if you're not aware, I had no idea. I didn't even know there was such thing as a taskmaster spirit. I I think it kind of started being labeled. I mentioned type A personality at the beginning. There's lots of things being melancholy, perfectionist, detail oriented. Sometimes when you take those things too far, or when you're operating in the weakness of those things, you can hide behind that personality and then you can start to identify yourself as that. But I didn't know. I thought, oh, I'm just this way. Oh, I'm good. I'm the one that keeps the schedule and I'm the one that does this and that. And you kind of pride yourself in that. So first and foremost, it's prayer. And while prayer is powerful, I had to spend time in the word and with with God. Prayer is powerful, but if I wasn't aware of it, so it also took me looking into the fruit of other people's lives. Jeremy and I have people in our lives. So association is a big thing. I think that's a big thing. Look at the fruit in other people's lives. We have very close friends of ours who have prioritized relationships. First and foremost, their relationship with God. But specifically a couple I'm thinking of that also has three kids. I always say young kids. They're a little bit older than ours now. Kids always stay young to me. But they have been blessed. They have been blessed abundantly in their life in all areas. They've prospered. They're not perfect, but they have been able to bless others abundantly and because they prioritize. And I look at them and I'm like, oh my goodness, their life is so quote unquote busy. It's it's actually now busy in fruitful things, and they love their lifestyle now, and they're able to their blessing others has been multiplied. And we also, Jeremy and I have people in our lives that are close to us who have kind of prioritized tasks, and they are the people who respond back, oh, I'm crazy busy. But I look at the fruit of their lives. Now, in a non-judgmental way, you want to, think about the people who you're hanging around, non-judgmental way, meaning those aren't good or bad people, but I look at the fruit, what I want to trade places with them, what are their lives producing? And okay, they're crazy busy in what, not to judge what they're doing, but so that was my awareness. Spending time in the word and with God, and also just walking with him throughout the day, asking him, God, please show me, open my eyes, convict me. And then it's being obedient to his voice. That's so tough. It's so easy said than done. But so I am still a work in progress. I will say I have not completely overcome. It's a daily battle. It's a daily fight against the flesh. It's intentional living. It's being intentional. It's being aware. But it's always, does this align with my purpose for God? I filter all my decisions through that. But it is being obedient to His voice. So when, for example, last night, we had dinner and it's usually cleanup. Boys play a little bit in the summertime. They go to bed a little bit later, because it's lighter out. I love summertime. I also I love spending time outside and going for walks. But again, it's a daily battle against my flesh. I'm like, I need to clean up these dishes. I need to get ready for this and that, and just a lot of things. We have a nanny who comes to watch the boys during the day, and I like to have the house in order, not perfect. But I remember Jeremy saying while I was still cleaning, we were all still cleaning up from dinner. He's like, "You want to go for a walk?" And I'm initially my flesh was like, it's getting late, it's getting bedtimes, and we have to do baths and, this and that. Just started making excuses. Because I've prayed so much about conviction in that area, God, please show me when I start to go into excuse mode. I knew right away. I didn't even answer when he said that. And I'm like, oh, I would not turn down a walk. In my head, I'm like, how awesome, a walk with my family. The house is still going to be there, the dishes will still be there. That was the best thing ever. And it even, in my head, I was like, oh, we'll just go for a walk around the block. I'll come back and I'll still be able to do things. It turned out to be probably closer to 45 minutes to an hour. Salem just wanted to keep going. He's our 6-year-old. He was on his bike and he's like, let's go down this block. And I'm like, let's let him lead, can we go this way? Can we go that way? And what do I want him to remember? Again, we're training up our children in the way they should go. My family is our first ministry. Um, you and I kind of talked about this. God will bless your time. God will bless the relationships you choose, whether it's a phone call, whether it's going to visit someone, whether it's sending an encouraging word, taking time out to do that, or going for a walk with your family. Um, God will bless that time. When I got home, I was so refreshed. I felt so great. I actually didn't even really feel like doing the dishes. And sometimes when I do, and I say doing the dishes, we're, first world problems. We have a dishwasher. But all the other tasks, I'm thinking before I go to bed, on top of, we just always have this ongoing thing like, oh, I'm going to get some sleep tonight. I want to go to bed early. But life is not about getting enough sleep either. Um, that was the best thing. And God blessed it in more ways than one. My mind was more clear. I was a lot more patient with my kids, for bedtime. The kids went to bed with a great memory of that day. So God will bless that time. And yeah, I was going to mention something else just about being obedient to his voice, but I think just acting on it. And God will show you, okay, great. Now look, I'll either bless you with more time like that, or that's going to have outlasting effects. Um, Oh, I know what I was going to say about that. Even for me, like getting sleep. Number one, I slept better that night, but I didn't go to bed as early as I wanted to. But God blessed my sleep. I woke up with more energy. I remember one of our pastors who actually married us, he at the time was traveling so much and he led a worship ministry, and I remember he would stay up late with us, pouring into us. It wasn't really an organized Bible study, but he would get together. We were in our 20s that time and none of us had kids. He would pour into us. He saw people, young people, hungry for God. Then he would go home and he had a family. He had kids and a wife, and he led worship and he had church duties and traveling. And we're like, how do you do it? How do you have energy? We have no kids and we're young and everything. And you stay up till sometimes 2, 3, 4 in the morning, whether on the phone with people, being there for us. He said, you know what, yeah, it's sometimes, it can be exhausting, but when you're doing the things of God, He will give you the energy to fulfill His purpose. He will give you the energy. You wonder why people, I think the crazy busy also goes along with, I'm so tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm tired. Even though you got, maybe enough sleep that night, I think it's because we're toiling in the things that are not of God. We think they're good, but maybe it's not where He has us. And it's one way that He's trying to communicate to us that this isn't where I have you. This is where I have you. You be obedient to his voice, and he will give you that energy.
Mm, that's good, Muffy. It's so good. And I loved how you said that that's your personality. And I think that it's important to know how God made us and not shy away from that. And there's good things about those personalities, and there can be, like you said, some things that will, if you're not being like refreshed and praying, then those kind of things come out a little bit. But not being afraid or trying to change your personality. I mean, that's who God made you to be, and for a reason. But understanding that there's sometimes really great things that come with that, and then there's things that we have to look out for. So I like how you said that.
Mhm. That's so good. I love you say that. I want to bring that back to my word of the year, simplify. I think that was a big thing, is for me to truly know who God created me to be. So many people who are in this identity crisis, or some people hide behind their busyness. I think, and again, another tool of the devil, but I think that is the danger where someone, if I'm not busy, oh, I'm alone with my thoughts, or I'm alone and I don't know who I am. For me, simplify, going back to that word, not meaning, it doesn't necessarily mean cutting things out. It's me being able to know who I was created to. My personality, not only my personality is there, but now what are the strengths of my personality? So God created and designed me and designed my personality, but what's my temperament and how can I operate best in those strengths? And if I can't simplify my life, I'm just drowning in the busyness, and then I have no idea who I am, and I can't nurture then my boys. Again, I can't train them up in the way they should go, because how can I nurture them in who God created them to be if they don't see me stepping into who God created me to be? And that simplifying just really has helped me to do that so far this year.
What would you say to the person who feels like they are busy or they're crazy busy? Do you have a word or an encouragement or a thought to kind of maybe
Yeah,
quiet that?
I know. And you know what? There's so many books and resources and everything, but again, simplify. For me, I go back to the basics. Prayer, spending time with God. My that was my word at the beginning of the year. And it's so funny to think about it. That was my word at the beginning of the year. And what was my first go-to was to buy all these books and podcasts. And again, those are good things. Those are things out there. I love reading, and there's great books. Where I have a daily habit of reading and listening to podcasts as well. But I have these paring down podcasts, these decluttered books. Jeremy and I were at a book sale. We do this book sale at the library, and one of the books was, I don't know, decluttering your house, and I'm like, I don't know if I should get this book or not, because then if I get it, it adds to my clutter, but the book is about decluttering. So, it's almost like we try to it's almost like we try to look for all these other answers. So if I'm busy, if I have to think about like, I'm so busy, how do I cut that out and everything? Um, for me, I need to simplify. Okay, God, you gave me that word. Oh, my first thing was to turn to all these books. What if I just first turn to prayer and turn to Him first and more foremost? He is our one thing. Um, Honestly, I know it sounds so just foundational, but I don't know any other answer to point people to. I don't have any magical book. Yes, there's a lot of books out there and resources and professional help, but God honestly is our number one. He knows your heart and what you're battling. And I had to just I was almost afraid to. Sometimes we are like afraid to ask God, like God, open our eyes to what we really because we it's almost like we already know what we need to do to be unbusy, but we like don't want the answer because we're like, oh, but I can't say no to that. I can't cut that out. I don't know what to do if I'm not doing that. That's my identity. Or I don't know what to do if I'm not busy. If I'm not busy, then I feel guilty because am I not doing anything, you know? But we go to God, and again, He just be still in Him. And I don't know why it's so hard. It was hard for me. And sometimes it even still is just I had to literally take my taskmaster spirit and turn it toward good. I had to be like, okay, I have a taskmaster spirit. I'm going to use that for good. I'm going to say 5 minutes with God. Like it's almost like it had to be a checklist for me. So you can take your personality or your busyness and schedule in God then. Okay, schedule in 5 minutes. Not that God should be scheduled in. We walk with him, daily. But if that, for me, that's how it had to be. I hate to admit that, but I'm human. And when I did that, it's almost like I didn't even have to attempt to turn that into more because, again, oh my goodness, the things that I was learning and hearing from God, the things that I was being convicted of, I liked it and didn't like it at the same time because I'm like, oh, change is so hard. And also realizing what I was, what I had over me, that taskmaster spirit. It's like I don't like labels, and that's not who I am. That's not who he created me to be. Um, so I had to, just that prayer and prioritizing that time. Then he pointed me to people that I could get in my life for people to help me out. Then he did point me to maybe some books or podcasts. Then I knew, okay, like, wow, I had confirmation in different areas. Even I think I mentioned to you after our initial phone call, we actually had a leadership called Level Up Leadership. It was just a 1 day leadership, and I got so much confirmation. And it's amazing, even for that 1 day leadership. It's almost like you think about the things that matter most to you, and I could fit that into my schedule, and, getting childcare and everything else. You think of everything, the opportunity cost. But the opportunity cost of me missing that event, the opportunity cost of not spending time with God, think about that. I had so much confirmation coming out of that weekend, just where God wanted me. Um, I'll have to admit this on here. Even when you asked me, I was so honored and I was actually super excited to do the podcast. But at the same time, I was like, oh, when am I going to do this? It's like, well, how? And then I thought, well, you're in my same position. You're a mom, you have kids, you're a wife. You have all the things too, and you run multiple businesses too. But like what you shared with me, your purpose for it all intertwines for what God's purpose has for you, and God will make a way. And I thought about that and I'm like, well, gosh, if you can make time, I can make time for this and God will bless that. And so I think, yeah, just spend time with God and he will open up to you, um, looking to the Holy Spirit to say, where do I need to say yes and where do I need to say no?
Yeah, something that really hit me when you were talking was I think that I love what you said of just like pray and kind of get started because I think that's something that we do as humans is we get all of the information, we read all the books, we do the podcasts, we like get all of this information and then don't do it. And so I love how you just like just do it. Like just do it. And then if you need something
Yeah.
else, but I think that's just one of our traits is like, okay, let's just find out all the information before we get started. And that's what we want from God, right? We want like, okay, Like for me, like you wanted me to start a podcast. Okay, can you tell me the whole thing of what
Mhm.
it's going to look like? And he's like, no, just do it. And like, and then
Yes.
I'll give you another step and I'll give you, but that's so hard.
Yeah. Think about though driving a car. This is kind of my analogy for that is we're always getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. But when you are learning to drive a car, yeah, you take driver's ed, but do I know how a car works? Do I need to know how everything works about a car before I can get in? I know what I need to know before I get in a car and drive it and where I'm going. I probably should know a little more about, car maintenance and stuff, but you know what you need to know to go where you need to go. The main thing, don't major in the minors.
Mhm.
Yeah, just get in the car and drive. I do want to say something too that reminds me what I do as a registered dietitian. I talk to a lot of my clients about healthy habits and adopting healthy habits, and I meet them where they're at. So many times, though, when I'm talking to them about just simple things to live a healthy lifestyle, nothing huge or major. A lot of people think it is a major shift, but same thing in your walk with God, in adopting a healthier lifestyle. Talking about small habits, a lot of times they hold off starting even just one or two things because of, oh, I'll wait till this holiday is over, or oh, this occasion or that occasion, or the weather's hot, the weather's cold, this or that. I'll wait till this. Um, there's so many interruptions, and you and I were even talking about this. For me, I've thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? Life is a series of interruptions. Like that's what life is. They're like good and bad. An interruption isn't just a bad thing. When I have kids, that's an interruption, but it's something we chose and it's a good thing. Interruption can also take you the other way too. But let's just accept that that's what life is. It is a series of interruptions. So let's accept that. And now let's go ahead and allow God into our life amidst all the interruptions, because God also calls us to make and create interruptions. If you think about it, if we're going to change people's lives and truly serve, we're actually interrupting people's lives in a good way for his kingdom. But when I try to tell my clients that there's always going to be something every day. And that's what life is. If not, life would be so boring. So let's just accept that there's interruptions and let's just call it busy or whatever. I think let's just accept that we're going to be called into an uncomfortable place. Let's live, let's not try to live a balanced life. Jesus didn't ever say, hey, you guys need to be more well-rounded, or the Bible, I don't think it says anywhere in there that we need to live a balanced life. Let's live out of balance in our activities so that we can stay focused in our value system.
Mic drop. Yeah, we did it. That was awesome. That was so good. That was so good. Oh, well, as we wrap up, Muffy, I always ask these questions. What is your favorite Bible verse or story?
Oh, yes. Well, a favorite Bible verse right now is Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be given to you. I think that plays in so well with prioritizing Him. It's also kind of a verse that us as a family, I try to speak every day to our kids, and then intertwine that into what we're doing for the day. As far as a Bible story, the top one that comes in this season of my life, specifically about simplifying, is the story of Martha and Mary, and how, when Jesus came to visit them, and sometimes I get them switched up, but it was Martha who was in the kitchen, I believe. I think it was Martha who was the one who was, and I'm like, that is so me. She was in the kitchen preparing and wanting everything to be perfect, for Jesus to come and visit. And here, Jesus is in the other room. Mary is sitting at his feet listening to him. And then Martha kind of gets flustered, like, why aren't you in here helping me? I'm like, oh my gosh, that has been me so many times. I want everything to be perfect, but I've missed the bigger mark. I've missed the most important thing. That's even what Jesus said. She is actually doing what's most important, and that's listening to me. So that story just hits home to me. I will say another story that also I just read to my boys yesterday was the story of when Jesus is with his disciples and the little kids come to Jesus and the disciples are kind of like, go away, little kids, you're bugging him. And Jesus is like, no, let the children come to me. There's always time for them. And that helps me remind me whenever my kids want something, mom, watch this, watch this. I'm like, yes, I can watch, for the 10th time, I can watch what you can watch it.
That's so sweet. And you said that one of your phrases or words to describe yourself is grateful. What are you grateful for right now?
Oh, yes. Well, um, uh, you know, again, the season, I don't know if it's just because with having kids and you realize the value of time, I'm just honestly, it may sound cliche, but I'm just grateful for every day, just waking up and the people, the relationships first and foremost. I am grateful for um, I will say too, not the busyness, but I am grateful for what God has called me into. I may look at it sometimes when I start to think I'm busy, I turn that around. If I'm doing something for God, I turn that around and say, I don't have to do this. I get to do it. So I'm grateful for what I get to do because that does mean that I'm living. That does mean that God is actually using me. He hasn't overlooked me for something. Thank goodness I have these kids, again, self-inflicted. Like Jeremy and I chose to have 3 kids. I'm grateful for them. When they're interrupting and taking time, mom, I want to show you something, whatever. Thank goodness, I'm taking my time. So I'm just grateful for the people in the association in my life and for the opportunity to serve and that God is still using me.
I love it. What kindness have you received in the last week, or what kindness have you shown?
Um, Shoot, I was thinking about this. I was actually trying to think of a specific instance. And while there are those, um, one of the things that we're actually are intentional about being an example to our boys and talking to them about every day is kindness isn't something necessarily that we do, it's who we are. And so every single day, we do this when I take my boys out running errands. Before we get out of the van, wherever we're going, we always pray. We pray for God to speak through us. And another Bible verse we are speaking a lot is Matthew 5:16. Our boys say it with an accent. They say, "Let your light shine before others." And so it's like, let your light shine before others so that others may see your good deeds and want to praise their Father in heaven. So they say that, and I say, what does that mean? It means being kind to others. And what does that look like? Maybe it's smiling at others or saying hi. So we always pray that before we go in. So now our 2-year-old, whenever we go into a store, he has that just outgoing personality. Now I can already tell he's hi, hi. And, some people they're looking down at, I love it because my 2-year-old, is reminding people, with their face buried in their phone, he's like, hi, hi. So they look up, oh, hi. And so I think kindness is just on a daily basis. I'm kind of seeing it through my kids. It's wherever we go, showing kindness is just shining our light on others and showing them that by example, I'm living a simple life. And that sometimes in this day and age, especially coming out of COVID, I can look at you in the eye and I can say hi.
Mm, right. Oh, Muffy, this has been so good. Even if it was just for me and my spirit, it's been so good. But I think this is
Yes.
what's going to really resonate with so many people, right? Is because
Mhm.
we all feel busy, and we do have tasks to do, no matter if you are a task-oriented person or not, right? We all have tasks to do, and I really love what you said about the life is an interruption. That's just something that's really hitting me. So I can't wait to see how God uses this on others. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for you being obedient to God's voice in your life, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for your obedience. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And on Ordinary People, Extraordinary Things, your story is His glory.